how did a Man United supporter, a West Ham supporter and a Leeds supporter end up coming together to manage?
Should never really be in the same room.
We shouldn't. To have a lettings business, because it wasn't our original intention, was it?
Well, I remember us sat outside the cafe just up the road, and it's nearly 16 years ago. And it was just to manage your properties.
I've had properties over 35 years, and in that time I've had agents, and some mostly bad agents. So that is the reason that we started look after our own properties, basically, because we couldn't find anybody else to do it. And I think renovating, we picked up loads of ideas when we improved the properties.
Yeah.
The basic thing was adding on suites to all the properties, upgrading the quality throughout, new kitchens. I think some of the kitchens are better than my kitchen at home in some of these properties, but really going for the top end of the market. And so we learned a lot in that process. But also, I think then some of those properties, to finance the ongoing refurb, we had to sell some of them. The people who bought those properties asked us to manage them.
Yeah, and we've still got them to this day.
Yeah.
We still manage for those people.
Yeah. If somebody's looking for an agent, they need to find an agent that has the perspective of an owner, of a landlord, and is able to tackle the management from that perspective. If somebody's looking for an agent, they need to find an agent that has the perspective of an owner, of a landlord, and is able to tackle the management from that perspective.
I think that's the danger sometimes with the bigger agencies, that they haven't got that type of thinking. They're a big office, they've got a lot going on, whereas a smaller office can get really hands-on and in there dealing with it just like they do their own properties.
Definitely. And also an agent that is specialising in HMOs, because it's a different area totally to residential properties. There's so many rules and regulations that need to be adhered to, so they might need to try 2 or 3 agents before they find that right one. They should treat it as an interview process, shouldn't they?
I think a lot of investors, they'll buy an investment property that's already got a management agent looking after it.
Yeah.
But you don't need to stay with them. Yeah, you don't need to stay with that agent. It might be the reason why that owner's having to sell the property. Yeah. They might not be making that property work the way it should be.
HMOs can be a really good, successful investment, but
you've got to run them properly.
And people will spend a lot of time choosing and deciding before they buy a property, but they might choose an agent just on a whim. When a landlord's looking for an agent, there's obviously a lot of options there, but if they've got an HMO and they want an HMO looked after, it's a totally different kettle of fish to a residential property or flats or anything else, because it's so intense looking after an HMO. You've got 5 or 6 people, 4, 5, 6 people in a house, so you're not
all on separate tenancies.
All on separate tenancies.
They're not all
gone in at separate times. You've got the communal areas to look after, and who's pinched my tomato, and he's not emptied the bins today, and all that sort of thing. But and the laws and regulations are a whole different ballgame to residential. You don't want to be tied in to a deal that isn't right for you. Don't sign in for a 3-year contract, a 3-year agreement. Just go with them for 6 months or a year, with the option to leave if things aren't working for them.
I think some owners they think it's a really tricky thing to change agents.
Yeah,
when
maybe.
It isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't really.
If you've got properties with an agent at the moment and things aren't quite right, have those conversations, and ultimately if that agent can't fulfil your needs, then you should be looking elsewhere, shouldn't you? Because that investment is a vital part of your life, and it needs nurturing. It needs to be working at its full maximum potential all the time.
If you've got the right agent and you have got another business, that's perfect for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can concentrate on your other business and know,
it's the
rest
dream.
assured that your investments are working well.
Yeah.
That's great.
You can lose money sleepwalking through an investment so easily. If somebody's given notice to move out, does that agent then start looking for somebody to replace that tenant? Or do they wait until they've actually gone out and then start marketing it? And I'm sure and well, I know for a fact a lot.
You need
do
to
that.
be in there pretty much the day or the day after that the notice is given and check the condition of that room. Do you need to do any renovations to it and painting? You know, there's going to be general wear and tear in there.
Yeah.
So get it done while that tenant's still living there. But sometimes you can do that.
You're proactively doing what is best for that owner. Nipping maintenance issues in the bud is a big one, isn't it? You know, before they become bigger issues, and
The agent should be going 4 times a year.
at least 4 times a year. I mean, you're probably in there more than that, aren't you? Because you're doing viewings and other things. And
So report to the landlord, get some quotes, get it fixed, and
Yeah.
maintain the property as it should be.
and then inspection reports looking for repairs and issues and curbside appeal and improvements and how that property looks from a viewpoint of a tenant.
You want to let a property on first viewing, and your curbside appeal will help you do that.
What if you were going to rent that room?
Yeah.
Not just as in, this is your job. You're showing somebody around to look at a room.
Would you?
Would you rent that room
Yeah,
basically?
yeah.
Would you live there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You get the property let on first viewing.
Yeah.
You're getting rents from day one. You know, not 2 or 3 weeks down the line. It's a good cost.
So they just leave the properties with their agency,
Yeah.
and it's just ticking over in the background.
Yeah.
So you could have an agency who recommends improvements. So they could be getting £90 a week for a room,
Yeah.
but go with another agency, and they'd say, if you did this or did that, you get £110 a week for
Yeah.
a room.
Yeah.
And if they've got a few properties, there could be a massive increase over
Yeah.
a year.
And it puts up the value of an investment property as well. So you're getting more rents, but you're also increasing your value.
The better properties an agency have,
Yeah,
word
yeah.
of mouth, more tenants. It's a snowball effect, and it is a win-win situation
Yeah.
for agency and investors,
Yeah.
owners.
I think it should always be win-win-win, shouldn't it? That if the tenant wins, then it's a lot easier for the agents, and it's also means that the owner is getting the full rent at the maximum, and that is always the target. Is those win-win-win situations. If you do it the other way around and just start looking at the money side first, and I'm going to cut corners here, I'm going to save a bit of money there, I'm going to try and get £180 for that room when it's only worth 120. Then you run into problems. An agent's there to take the stress away from an owner, not add to it.
Ask your agent if they're part of any associations. For
Yeah.
instance, in our area, it's
That's a good
the
point.
Humber Landlords Association, and we have monthly meetings. We're always kept informed of new changes in legislation.
And just to share best practices with other landlords and other organisations is always
There's some
beneficial, isn't it?
landlords who attend those meetings that self-manage. And there's nothing wrong with self-managing your
not
property.
at all. No, I mean, it's the
If
ideal
you get
thing.
it right, the regulations and compliance.
Yeah.
But if you buy more and more properties, which you're doing well, you may need an agent. To summarise, if you're looking for an agency to manage your investment, I think you need to be talking to at least 3 local agents.
Be comfortable that there's somebody you can work with, and if you can, see other properties so you know where you are in the marketplace.
If you're an investor looking for an agency, have a list of questions and goals you want when you go to the agency, and see if they can fulfil those.
Your agent's got to be honest and tell you up front from the beginning
Yeah.
it needs a schedule of works. Maybe it don't need anything. You've bought a turnkey investment and it's great.
You need to try and find an agency that represents or looks after the kind of properties you're looking to invest in.
And they've got that. To do that, I think they need to have that perspective of an owner.
Overall, as long as you get the right property, the right area, right agency, an investment should be the way to go.
We're actually now getting some of the top rates in the city. That's down to what we've spent on the property and how it's managed.
But you've spent that money on that property and you've had very little maintenance in between doing it. You've future-proofed it. It's
Future-proof is a terminology we like, isn't it? We use a lot. And it isn't just the rents that you receive from a property. It's keeping the cost to a minimum as well. And if you can do it, and property's a long-term game, isn't it? So you need to be willing to invest. It doesn't end when you buy the property. And this is why I think some honest conversations need to be had between owners and agents.
From my point of view, I think you'd want that because it shows that, one, you know what you're talking about, and two, you've been honest.
Got to be honest.
Rather than we'll just take anybody.
Yeah. You'll end up
That's
with...
what an agent needs to be, I think. They've got to be straight up.
You've turned some away in the past, haven't you?
Definitely, yeah. I'll never take on a property unless I've seen it myself. I don't want to see pictures. I want to see it in the flesh.
Yeah.
I want to go in there and have a look at it.
Yeah.
And if it needs work, it don't mean to say I'm not going to manage it. It means to say I'm going to set a schedule of works out between the agent, us, and the owner.
Yeah.
And get that property to a standard that is lettable.
Yeah.
That's like the ones that we already have.
Yeah. Your property isn't up to standard. You might have more voids. You might have lower rents. You might have lower quality of tenants.
Rent arrears.
Then arrears start to crop up. And then if they leave or they don't pay, whatever, you struggle to fill that room again because it's not presented right, and it just spirals down. As opposed to what you're trying to achieve is the exact opposite of that, isn't it? You need to talk to the agent, ideally before you buy your property, but if you've got a property, there's still a conversation to be had. But you need to know where that property stands in the marketplace.
There's a market for all types of, all standard houses, isn't there? We know that, you know.
If an owner's looking and they've not got a property, talk to an agent beforehand. Locations can change from street to street, almost, can't it? A good location and a bad location. So you've got to have those conversations early. And we've had some people who have just paid £5,000 for a seminar, and roll on. You can have 10 properties in no time.
I think these seminars lead you to believe that you can just go and do that anywhere you like.
Yeah.
And if you're not experienced in that way, and you think you're gaining the experience through seminars, I think it's wrong.
Before anybody did that, I highly recommend that they speak to agents, local agents, and about the feasibility and the practicality of acquiring properties.
You need somebody who's in the area, like you said, knows. We know in this town, you know, certain areas are good, you would rent.
Yeah.
And other areas we wouldn't want to rent properties in.
You might not be allowed to actually rent that property as a HMO if you're a HMO investor.
Oh, you had that?
I've had that myself where they've come to me, will you manage my property? I've got this HMO, just going to touch it up with a bit of paint, etc., etc. And I've said, hang on a minute, are you actually allowed to rent it as a HMO?
But that was in an Article 4
In
area,
Article 4 area,
which
he didn't know.
He didn't have planning permission for it.
If it had come to us first, or another agent, who knows what they're doing, then it'd have been advised that way, and would have found him somewhere else that he could have rented as a HMO.
Another landlord who, you know, as an agency, you can offer a service where you manage a refurb on the property. No, I'll do it myself. I didn't want to pay whatever the fee was. But then, after the refurb was done, I asked you to look at it, and the rooms are the wrong size. So for the sake of a few £1,000s, whatever the fee is, you've cost yourself probably a lot more.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's a sad story, isn't
Very
it? But
sad, yeah.
these conversations need to be had as early as possible. It's a massive leap of trust, isn't it, for an owner and an agent. You need to make sure that that agent has the capability, the knowledge, the experience.
There's a lot of compliance issues with HMOs.
Massive compliance,
Lots and lots, and it seems to get bigger each year, really.
Yeah.
The licensing to do on a 5-year basis, but they often they'll come down to the council and inspect your property. You end up with they're getting more and more strict. PAT testing annually.
Yeah.
Emergency lights, the gas certificates annually.
Yeah.
They've got to be kept up to date all the time.
With the HMO, there's a lot more going on. So as a owner investor, you've got to pick an agency that's used to dealing with that.
Yeah, but it's worth the extra cost because the fines for not being compliant for a HMO owner, I think are up to £30,000.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Well, nobody does.
That's your investment gone up the swanny.
Yeah. You know, an agent's there to take the stress away from an owner, not add to it. There's so much that you just cannot physically be aware of if you have an agent.
Yeah, if you have a local agent, they'll tend to have local contractors who they'll use, who will then respond to them. Whereas if you're a national firm, I'm not sure how that really works. I've had tenants who will ring up or they'll complain about something. Something's not working, some electrical item's not working. And now a national agent might send an electrician down there or get a call-out charge. And I've gone down and it's been turned off by another tenant.
Yeah.
Or the kettle's tripped.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
it's,
Yeah.
it's putting us, putting the
Putting the switch back up,
switch
yeah.
back up, yeah.
So
Or just
You see, and the owner is trusting their agent.
Well, they
When
don't-
they get their
Yeah.
bill,
they'll
they're
never
trusting
know.
that
They'll,
that's-
they've just got an electrical fault bill,
Yeah.
or it might be the water needs pressurising for the boiler,
the boiler, that's the main
That's
one, the main
common.
ones, yeah.
which is, but it's like it's a quick fix, isn't it? But quite easily, if you've got the wrong agent, you can be paying. You could pay £100
Yeah,
for,
they'll still have a standard call-off charge, won't they?
for a £10 fix.
Yeah.
So you might think, you're top of the market, and then you go around 3 or 4 other properties, and you're actually towards the bottom end. If rents are like for like, you're expecting to get £150 a room, but there's houses that are so much better quality for 150, 140. Then you're just not going to get it, are you? And again, it has to be realistic. Can work with you in achieving these goals.
Yeah.
Any agency should be happy to show a potential investor some of the properties they currently manage.
Yeah, exactly that. I think the communication is a massive point.
You want somewhere physically you can actually go to, don't you?
I mean, the online agencies, it's difficult then, isn't it, to get communication channels going
Yeah.
between the agent and the owner. The agent should always be available for the landlord. And transparency, I think, is a big factor as well. A lot of the account systems now, the landlords can log in, can't they, to have a look. And
We've upgraded recently, haven't we? And the owner gets an app and they can sort their own accounts out from that. No news is not always good news.
it isn't.
A lot of landlords will be sat there thinking, oh, my investment's running smoothly, I never heard from my agent.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard from your agent within 3 months, they've not done an inspection
No.
because you should have had that report sent to you.
Yeah.
You get a lot of landlords or investors will have properties, they'll have business interests elsewhere,